The studio lights of CBS This Morning glared down on the set as the cameras rolled. The air was thick with anticipation. Meghan Markle was about to make her much-hyped appearance. Viewers across the country tuned in, expecting a polished, carefully curated conversation about her new projects and humanitarian work. But from the very start, something felt off. Meghan walked onto the set with her usual poised smile, dressed in a cream-colored suit that radiated elegance. Gayle King greeted her warmly, giving Meghan the chance to relax. But Nate Burleson, the former NFL player turned co-host, had been briefed differently. He wasn't interested in rehearsed answers or PR-friendly monologues. He wanted authenticity, and if necessary, confrontation. "Meghan, thank you for joining us," Nate began with a grin that carried a tinge of challenge. "You've spoken often about wanting privacy, yet here you are promoting a new docuseries. Some people say that's contradictory. How do you respond to that?" The question landed like a spark in dry grass. Meghan's smile stiffened. She tilted her head, the way she often did when preparing a defense. "Nate, I think people misunderstand. It's not about avoiding the public eye, it's about controlling the narrative. Privacy doesn't mean silence, it means boundaries." Nate nodded slowly but pressed again. "Fair enough. But when you and Prince Harry signed deals worth millions with streaming platforms, isn't it fair to say that those boundaries became more flexible? Some critics argue you're profiting off the very institution you claim mistreated you." The studio grew quieter. Even Gayle glanced sideways, sensing the conversation was veering into dangerous territory. Meghan's voice sharpened. "With all due respect, Nate, that's a simplistic way of looking at things. People profit off their stories all the time, authors, athletes, even journalists. Why should my husband and I be held to a different standard?" A hush lingered. Meghan leaned forward, her polished exterior beginning to crack. "What bothers me," she added, "is how men, often men in power, believe they have the right to question a woman's choices while applauding those of other public figures. Why is my integrity always under attack?" Nate raised his brows. "This isn't about gender, Meghan. It's about accountability. You've made serious allegations against the royal family, and people are asking whether you've been completely honest." Gasps echoed faintly in the studio. Even the producers in the control room sat frozen. Meghan shifted uncomfortably, her smile fading. "Honesty. Nate, do you think I would put my family, my children, through all of this for attention? Do you think it's some performance for ratings?" Nate leaned back, his tone calm but firm. "I think the American people just want straight answers. You're not just Meghan Markle anymore, you're a global figure. With that comes responsibility." By now, Meghan's composure was slipping fast. Her eyes flashed with irritation. The audience could sense the tension, as if the room itself was holding its breath. "Responsibility," she repeated, her voice rising slightly. "My responsibility is to my family, not to the opinions of critics or morning show hosts. If you want to question someone's motives, maybe start with those who've exploited me for years, because I've had enough of being everyone's target." Gayle tried to interject with a calming remark, but it was too late. Meghan had gone from composed guest to defensive combatant, and Nate wasn't backing down. The segment was supposed to last 15 minutes. By the ninth, producers were exchanging frantic signals. And then it happened, the moment no one expected. Meghan removed her mic pack, stood up from her chair, and turned to the hosts with a tight, forced smile. "I don't need to sit here and justify my life choices to people who refuse to listen," she said coldly. "This is exactly the kind of disrespect I've endured for years, and I won't tolerate it any longer." Gasps rippled across the studio. Before anyone could stop her, Meghan walked off the set, live, on air. The cameras caught every second. The control room cut abruptly to commercial, but the damage was already done. Social media erupted within minutes. Hashtags like #Meghan storms off and #Nate vs Meghan trending worldwide. Backstage, chaos reigned. Meghan's team scrambled to contain the fallout, while producers argued over how much of the segment should be replayed later in the broadcast. Meanwhile, Nate Burleson sat quietly at the desk, unfazed. He sipped from his coffee mug and leaned toward Gayle, who whispered, "That was intense." "Intense, yes," Nate replied calmly, "but necessary. Someone had to ask the questions." Gayle shook her head. "You just made headlines for weeks." And she was right. By noon, clips of Meghan's abrupt exit dominated news cycles. Commentators debated who was in the wrong. Was Nate too aggressive, or was Meghan too defensive? Some praised Nate for holding Meghan accountable. Others blasted him for being insensitive, even hostile. Meghan's supporters rallied online, defending her dignity, while critics accused her of arrogance and hypocrisy. But behind closed doors, Meghan was fuming. "This was a setup," she snapped at her publicist. "They wanted to embarrass me, to provoke me. And Nate Burleson, he's not a journalist, he's a former football player pretending to be one." Her publicist tried to soothe her. "Meghan, walking off the set only fueled their narrative. People are calling you thin-skinned. We need a statement, something firm but measured." Meghan paced the room, her heels clacking on the tile floor. "I won't apologize for standing up for myself. But I will not let them twist my words. Draft something that makes it clear I was treated unfairly." That afternoon, a carefully worded statement appeared on Meghan and Harry's official website. It condemned the interview for its disrespectful tone, and reaffirmed her commitment to speaking her truth. But the storm only grew. Nate Burleson addressed the controversy on the following morning's broadcast. Looking straight into the camera, he said, "I respect Meghan Markle, and I wish her the best. But my job is to ask questions, tough questions. If someone chooses to walk away instead of answering them, that's their decision. The viewers can decide for themselves what that means." It was a mic drop moment that added fuel to the fire. Days turned into weeks, and the fallout remained relentless. Memes flooded social media. Late-night hosts mocked the exchange. Tabloids ran headlines like, "Meghan's morning meltdown," and, "Nate holds his ground." But perhaps the most surprising reaction came from within the royal family. Sources whispered that senior royals privately found the incident predictable, even validating. Meghan had once again become the story, overshadowing everything else. For Meghan, the ordeal left scars. The appearance meant to highlight her philanthropic projects had devolved into a public relations nightmare. Trust in American media was shattered, and her critics were louder than ever. And for Nate Burleson, the incident cemented his reputation. No longer just the friendly former athlete, he was now seen as a journalist unafraid to challenge even the most powerful figures. In the end, Meghan's dramatic walk-off became more than just a viral clip. It became a turning point, an example of how quickly control can slip in the glare of live television. Whether she was the victim of disrespect, or the architect of her own downfall remained a matter of opinion. But one truth was undeniable. That morning on CBS This Morning, Meghan Markle faced a battle she could not win.